morning. So today we've got a topic that a parent actually sent and requested. So I'm excited to get on that and talk about that. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about me. So I danced on Broadway. I did. At the Winter Garden Theater in New York. Well, that's Broadway. Are you impressed? Kind of impressive, right? What I'm not telling you, though, it's not quite that impressive. What I'm not telling you, though, is that I danced on the stage at Winter Garden Theater during intermission while we were getting signatures from the cast. And I dragged my sister, I was in high school, I dragged my sister over to the side of the stage and did a little tap step so I could say, I danced on Broadway. It's the truth, I did. But I kind of left out some key points, which makes it a bit of a lie. We lie a lot for many different reasons. And if you're thinking, I don't lie, let me throw a few at you. I'm almost there. It must have gone to spam. I'm fine. Shoot, I'm busy that day. Any of those ring a bell? There's lots of reasons why we lie. But when our teens lie, and when they lie a lot, it gets really concerning. We get very worried. Why are they lying? What are they hiding? What are they doing? So we get very concerned with lying. And there's a reason to be concerned. Lying becomes very habitual. And when we do it a lot, we get in the habit of doing it and it gets hard to stop. So I want to walk through a process today. I actually think this is a really good example and opportunity to walk you through the P.R.I.M.E parenting method that I developed. I'm going to show you how it works using the behavior of lying. Now, this can work for all kinds of behavior. It can work for anxiety. It can work for anger. It can work for depression. Unless it's clinical, let's just get that. But it can work for a lot of different behaviors. So let's get to it. There's a lot here. So I recommend you take some notes if this is something you're interested in. And we can walk through what this process is. So for the first thing that we do when we're addressing something like lying is we want to get to the problem. This is the P in P.R.I.M.E, the problem. Now, they lie. That's a really big problem that can mean an awful lot of things. So the challenge here is to figure out exactly what you mean by that. Ask yourself the what W's. When do they lie? Why do they lie? What happens when they lie? Okay, that's not one of them, but how do they lie? Who do they lie to? Is it all the time? Is it in specific situations? Is it to all people or is it to authority figures? Is it to parents? Is it to their friends? Who are they lying to? And what are the situations? What type of lies are they doing? So we want to be very clear. And if you're not that clear, and a lot of times we kind of generalize and bring all these in and we start seeing it as a very big problem, which to many it probably is, it can be, but we start generalizing it. And so if you're at this point, I'd love for you to just start taking notes. If this is an issue, so if lying is the issue, or if anger is the issue, whatever the issue is, start taking little notes about when it happens and get specific about the details around it, because you might start finding trends. So let's get really clear on the problem. The next one is the reason. And once you know very clearly what the problem is and you've narrowed that down, this is when we can understand the underlying reason behind it. And to make it easy, I've kind of grouped the reasons that teens do a lot of their behaviors into just 4 categories. And I call this, they march to the beat of their own drum, D-R-U-M. I love acronyms, it helps you remember stuff. So D is their development. So is there a developmental reason why they might be lying? And there are some with lying, and there are some with a lot of other behaviors. I mean, we've talked about the brain development and how the emotions are building up faster than the executive functioning. So it's hard to do that. It's hard to manage that. The other thing to think about, though, is we've also talked about how our brain is growing massively in density. And this is all the connections. So this is actually pointing more towards the importance of dealing with it now, because your teens are building their habits, they're building their behaviors. And if they're doing a lot of lying, they're strengthening that behavior and that habit. And so we want to start addressing that before it gets so built in that it becomes even harder for them to overcome it. So that's development. The next one is R, which is your relationship. And this one is often overlooked, and it's really big. What is your relationship? And in another session, I'll talk about relational currency, because this is huge. But how is your relationship? Look, in terms of lying, where's the trust? Is there a breakdown in the trust? Is there a breakdown in communication? So look at that. There could be a reason your teens are lying, because this trust or this ability or comfort of telling the truth may not be there. The third one is the U, and this is understanding. And you're thinking, I mean, understanding, you're thinking, well, maybe, of course they understand lying's bad. But do they? How do you behave every day? Do you ever do little white lies? I do. And unfortunately, I have done very well at teaching my daughter the importance of honesty and not lying, to the point where she calls me out when I make little lies. And that's not embarrassing. So I think one time we brought a gift to somebody, and it was a lovely gift, but it was something that I was regifting. I try not to do that, but I did this time because I didn't have anything. And my daughter told them. And I was so embarrassed. But, you know, I at least value that she's honest. And she's teaching me to be more honest, because I tend to tell little white lies to cover my butt, right? I think we all do. So look at your behavior. Are you modeling honesty to them? And also, are they really clear on the importance of honesty to you? Really, like, don't assume they know. Have you been really clear on the importance of honesty? And that's about trust and understanding. If you're not building my trust, if you're lying and causing me not to trust you, this impacts a lot of different things. Because if you're lying about this one thing, I don't know if you're lying about everything else. And now I'm going to start doubting you. And I don't want to doubt you. I want to believe you, but I need a reason to be able to believe you. And so they start understanding how important it is to build your trust, and that it's a two-way street, and that you want to build that together. So understanding is really important. When it comes to lying, though, I think motivation, which is the M, I think motivation is probably one of the biggest reasons to look at. That's why we lie. What is our motivation for that? And sometimes it's little things, sometimes it's big things. So if you go back and you look at the problem again, so let's say they're lying to authority figures a lot. Their motivation may be to avoid getting into trouble. So they believe that lying is going to get them into less trouble than whatever it is they are lying about. It may not be true, but that's what they're believing, because there's always a reason, there's always a motivation for what we do. And if we're motivated to lie a lot, what are we getting out of that lie? Another motivation is teens don't want to disappoint you. And this happens a lot when we actually encourage our teens by praising them a lot and saying, you're so smart, you're so talented. And then they start worrying that if I do something that shows that I'm not as smart as you think I am, or I'm not as talented that you think I am, what is that going to do? What does that mean? Does that mean I'm not smart? So they start lying to cover that up. They start making up stories to prove that they're smart, or I'm super talented because I danced on Broadway. Maybe little truth. So that could be a reason. Another big reason teens lie is they're worried about worrying you. They really are. I've talked to so many teens that are so in tune with what's going on with their parents. And when their parents are already worried, and especially now when parents are worried about the economy and worried about racism, and there's a lot of things we're worried about getting sick. They see all that and they worry that if they tell you the truth about something, it's just going to add to that. And so they'd rather lie to protect you. So there are many, many reasons why our kids could be lying. The other one, another big one, and this kind of goes with my Broadway example, is they lie to impress. So if they're lying to friends or they're lying to strangers, a lot of the times it's to build them up and to look bigger than they are, to look more impressive than they are. And this is kind of a reference to their self-esteem. A lot of times, like they think they need to be more than they are, but it also becomes just a habit. Like 3 isn't enough, so I'm going to say 4. That sounds better. So there's ways that we start lying, and they could start really small like that. And the more we do it and more habitual it becomes, the bigger they become. Well, 4 maybe not enough, so I'm going to say 10. Well, I always say 10, so I'm going to say 15. It gets bigger and bigger, and it becomes more and more easier to do. So those are many of the reasons. And then when we're doing it, more frequently we're doing it, we're building those connections, and we're making it more of a habit that becomes harder to break. So what is the reason behind their behavior? Why are they lying? The next one step in my P.R.I.M.E is the I, which is intention. So this is important because we want to think about what is our intention here. Do we want to just stop them from lying? We just want to end that behavior, get rid of it. Or is there more to it? Do we want to teach them how to have the character of honesty? Do we want to instill that honesty is important and have them understand why it's important? Do we want to resolve the underlying issue behind why they're lying? Is it a self-confidence issue? Is it a trust issue? Why are they resorting to lying? Because if we just focus on stopping that behavior, it's going to keep popping up because we haven't dealt with the issue. And if we just focus on the lying, we haven't taught them the more important characteristic of honesty and trust. So what is our intention here? The fourth thing is the M, which is mindset. And I think a lot of parents and a lot of parenting solutions that I've seen don't bring this piece in. And I think it is core to being successful as a parent. What is our mindset here? And there's 2 things I want to point out in mindset when it comes to behaviors like lying. The first one is, how are we viewing the lying? Are we viewing our child as a liar? Are we labeling them as a liar? Or are we focused on their behavior, which they have a habit of lying? There is an enormous difference between the 2. When we label our child or anyone as a liar, that's a fixed mindset, that's saying that that is an innate problematic character flaw. And if it's a character flaw, there's nothing I can do to fix it. I'm a liar. So my motivation at this point is to support who I think I am. And if I think I'm a liar, then I've got to continue lying, and I just lie because that is who I am. That is just innately what I do. And I'm going to tell you right now, your teen is not a liar. Your teen has a habit of lying. And when it's a habit, that can be changed. It may be hard to change. Some habits are deeply ingrained and well rehearsed, and it's not going to be an overnight thing to change that habit. But having the mindset that it is not a character flaw, it is a behavior that needs to be changed, gives you and gives your teen the ability to change it. So this is the difference between a growth mindset, where there's always room for change. What you are and who you are right now does not mean that's what you are and who you are tomorrow. A fixed mindset says, I am what I am, deal with it. And we want to have confidence in who we are. But if there's things we want to change about ourselves and we think we can't change them, or if there's things about our teens and we think we can't change them, that gives us no room to do anything. That gives them no room to improve. It just makes them stuck. And so really think about, what is your mindset here? Are you thinking this is something that we can change and we can work on? It might not be easy, but it can be done. The final step in the P.R.I.M.E parenting process is the E, which is empower. And empower is where you set your plan of action to empower your teen to change and empower yourself to change. Because the one thing that I repeat many, many times is that your teen is not broken. You are not broken. More than often, your relationship has been broken. Something in your relationship is broken that needs to be fixed. So there's something that needs to be fixed, but the two of you are not what needs to be fixed. It's the behavior, it's the interaction, it's how you're handling it that needs to be changed. And so when we go through empower, that's when we discuss what are the different things we can do to address it. Now, I know you're eager to hear, okay, tell me what to do. And you're not going to like my answer. I can't tell you what to do until you have done the first 4 steps, until you are precisely clear on exactly what the problem is, until you have uncovered what the possible reasons are, until you know what your intention is, what your goal is in this process, and you have the mindset that you can achieve that goal. Once those are in place, then we can be very clear on what our plan of action is and how to empower them to achieve that goal, to address the underlying reasons that will eventually resolve the problem. So I want to share with you a course. I'm creating a masterclass on this P.R.I.M.E parenting method that I've developed. And this is really going to go deep into how to do each of these. And I've got worksheets you can do, I've got exercises to do, and I would be part of that process and do some live coaching as part of it. So I'm putting this together, and if that's something you would be interested in learning more about, please just write a little note in the comments below and let me know you'd be interested, because I want to know if there's interest in it, and if there is, how much, so that I know this is the right thing to offer. So that would be extremely helpful. If you have other things, if you have other questions you want me to address, or other types of classes you would be interested in, email me. You can go to www.askdrcam.com, and you can email me with any question you have. Like I said, this was based on a question that a parent sent me about how to address lying. And there's so many other things I know. So send me an email, or also let me know what other types of classes, or if you're interested in taking a master class like this that walks you through this process. So the last thing I am going to say before I go and get my driver's license, and I have to renew it, and I'm deciding now whether or not I'm going to put my weight as less like most people do. Most women go lighter on their driver's license. They say they're lighter. I know I have. Most men say they're taller on their driver's license, but I started thinking about it, and I always do that, going, oh yeah, I've lost weight by putting it on there. But then I realized if somebody looks at your driver's license and you put that you weighed less than you do, aren't they going to go, damn, she has let herself go? So instead I'm thinking, I'm going to put myself as a lot heavier so that they can go, damn, she's been working out. Is that a lie? A little one? We've got to watch those. That's it for today. So your homework, I'm going to give you homework today, is if there is an issue you are dealing with, start taking notes and getting down. Be a detective and write, when is this happening? Why is this happening? Who is it happening to? What's happening? What is the scenario around it, so that you get that problem down? It's the first thing we need to get. And I will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m.